Okay, I don't know how this is exactly gonna work yet, but gonna go with the flow, as I always do. Okay, let's do a day one scenario, okay? I always like to do this. This is day one. And this is gonna be of 30. Okay? Now why do I choose 30 days? Well, the family's going to a wedding in 30 days. Okay? So the Grant family, we're going to my brother David's wedding in Costa Rica. And there has been a lot of uniform discussion of planning for a vacation, right? One of my favorite words. Let's talk about that for a second. So, business ownership. I love finding ways to not work. Okay? And what I mean by that is finding ways to use technology to work less. And another thing is, obviously, I talk about I don't like the word work. I like to refer to it as help now, because it's generally what I do all day is help. So help doesn't feel like work to me. Anyway, so let's plan for this event, all right? And how am I going to plan for this event? Well, it does two things. One, it's a good story drive, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to build out everything that I think that you should have in place as a business owner. If you wanted to, do the same thing. Travel anywhere you wanted and have the function of your business take care of itself, all right? That's what we're going to do here, okay? And the best part is I'm going to break this down every day. So I'm going to try to keep it under 15 minutes a day and answer as many questions as I can that I have a surplus of, and expose all of the parts of the automated method that do what I've always been talking about, so that when the travel happens, I'm going to podcast remotely as well, because I'm going to say it as it is, as it happens. I'm like the perfect example of this, because there's a lot of business that isn't real, right? Like I know that marketing yourself and doing these like remote work videos, etc., like I understand what it's for, but some of this is missing the actual operations of the business, the actual pieces, the corporate pieces of the business. So you need to have all of that as well as the remote. You know what I mean? So I'm going to do like a whole story. And this first video is just going to be a smorgasbord of a whole bunch of things, just because I'm trying to get it out there, and then I'll just do another 29. And then we get on an airplane. So maybe at that point in time, somewhere in here, I'll start to do some real-time things on like Instagram or TikTok, whatever. But I needed to figure out what I wanted to talk about while I was thinking about how to drive this almost remote work story. Let's talk about vacation, okay? It sounds like it's owed to you. You own the fucking business. Okay, so why are you saying it that way? I think that the reason you're saying it that way is so that you have a professional transaction verbally with the others. Maybe other businesses. Maybe consumers to your business. Because it's like, you might be a little bit transparent and you don't want to sound like an asshole. So when you say vacation, you're only limiting yourself to the amount of time that you can be away from work that doesn't piss people off. How does that sound like a business owner? That sounds like a business operator, or like someone that's owned by the business, right? I don't have any other way to describe that, but that's what it sounds like. Now, I'm always very forward and I have no filter, so I say it as it is because that's how you get somewhere. So we're gonna call, and this is the thing. I'm gonna record some audio and video in Costa Rica for sure. I'm gonna take some photos. Whether I post them for personal method or for, whatever. That's what's gonna happen. There's gonna be some AV stuff happening while we travel. There always is, okay? But I'm gonna introduce some concepts here. on work travel. I'm writing on a whiteboard if anybody's listening to this podcast and doesn't see any video. And off work travel. This is the introduction of something that I think is really important, because you don't have to be an all digital business for this to work, but this is how I personally refer to business and work and travel, right? The remote work idea. Hashtag on work travel, hashtag off work travel. And the hashtags are there just in, social principle. But the way I look at it is on work travel is when you can do work during travel, but it's whenever you want. And then off work travel is you don't have to do any work at all if you don't want to. Or you choose that mentality so that you don't work during that time, which you might be able to that might be a vacation to you. But seriously, if you do a little bit of work, it's on work travel. If you don't do any and you set your mind up to it, then you can have a completely personal travel, time, event, whatever. But see, it's not vacation. I feel like vacation is because it's just so distorted these days. And it doesn't have to be a digital only business for it to be what I'm talking about. I'm just trying to get that distinction through to people so that they can understand that there are ways to do a lot of this, a different way. And then you're also thinking differently while you're doing it. There's so many definitions that have to change. And I've said this a million times, but that's what I'm putting out there. So I own a business. And this time, I'm going to be off work travel. Off work travel. Hashtag off work travel. Okay? And I want to push that because I want to make sure that everything is in place, again, when I go somewhere with fam, so that I can totally be offline if I want it to be. The online part is usually the video and the audio, and in this case, I'll probably record a podcast here or there or something like that, okay? I bought a nice backpack. I'll talk about that somewhere deeper in the days. I'll talk about what I'm bringing, okay? The hardware, the software setup. But that's the beginning of this, okay? That's the beginning of this. Because I want to talk about it that way so that it starts a real conversation. Because if you have arguments against this, then what does day 30 mean? Right? It means, this is what these days up to the 30 mean. Stressed as fuck. That's what it means. All the way up to, maybe including the entire vacation. All right? Now I'm going to go to the second part of this talk, or this recording. The second part is, let me get this, hold on a second here. Let me take these off. All right. The second part is, it doesn't matter who I work with, if it's a story, if it's a copywriter, or if I'm trying to generate some sort of story, like the automated method this or the automated method that, or I get asked questions, like Jason gets asked questions about the automated method or about myself, etc., etc., etc. Why? Or a lot of this, if someone's doing story branding or they're something to do with story, it's what is your why? Right? What is your why? So this is what I can tell you about the company that I started, that I own, that is the automated method. Why? I noticed a long time ago that everything was getting done by software. Everything. And I also noticed and lived through the people ignoring that. Okay? Ignoring it. Not 100% ignoring it, but not 100% absorbing that. And then I started thinking the consulting side of technology is more important, right? The consulting side is more important because you're telling and teaching And like, I don't need to build the technology. I'm just advocating for it. And then you get a team that advocates for pieces of it and blah, blah, blah. And then you get the agency that is the automated method now. But the why was, like, I don't want everybody to work so hard. That's my why, right? And I don't want to work so hard. Those are my whys, right? So when I get passionate about problem solving, it's because I'm trying to make it easier for someone, right? And then I'm also making it easier for myself because I have to figure out how to make it easy for them. So making it easy for them makes it easier for myself. And then what's easiest is that I get to do this, which is all I want to do now. All of this. I do not mind engaging with business owners and trying to find path of least resistance ideas to solve these complex problems they think are complex, but they're not. So that's it. That's my why. That's the why the automated method, and then my personal one. And it's not far-fetched anymore because there's so many things available, so many problems to solve. But I think what's changed, which is why I'm going to do this 30-day set, I'm pretty positive what's changed is this whole no one wants to work anymore has kind of, as negative as that sounds, like, I mean, I totally don't agree with it, 100%. But a little bit I can understand where there's some reverse osmosis happening. And so anybody that doesn't want to work anymore, it's like, even if you own a business and you're in your 50s, let's say, you look at it too and you're like, oh man, like there's got to be an easier way. So reverse osmosis is making you ask questions. Your question as a business owner, you're questioning the status quo because you're like, there's got to be a better way. I am working too hard. There's got to be a way. I say the word vacation. I should be saying off-work travel or on-work travel. I do operate inside the business. I'm not an owner. I'm an operator. You see, these little things, they make, like, the reverse osmosis is that time is more important and people want to do stuff with their life before they get too old and die. It's changed, right? It's like people do want to do stuff. When they're in their time, they can. So that's like, now I would say that it's a thing. And I make a joke. I'm like, more people now are throwing money at solving problems and incorporating better operational workflow and automation because they want to do other things other than what they're doing in their business. Like there's a higher percentage of people that are just going to take it. Like, I used to say that there's a change in the probability, like the number of people that are willing to reinvest money into their business and not pay themselves as much. That is changing rapidly and started pre-pandemic. Okay? I witnessed it just because I'm the person, I'm a social observer, and I also do all these interviews, and I also do these conversations, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I can tell you that probably about 15 years ago, if a business owner was netting personally, what did they do with it at the end of the year, I don't care, but like say $1 million. That's a lot of money. It's not impossible. This is Southern Ontario, Toronto. I mean, I live and work in Toronto. So say that was the case. Asking them to reinvest on top of that, of that, so subtracting 25%, say $250,000, so they only make $750,000, that was a no. Now, no brainer. The people that get it, no brainer, because their business is still going to profit and profit more. They get out of their own way. They get out of the way of this malfunctioning business that has an operational problem because they're the operations completely without any automation, right? And so what happens is, so I'm just saying now, that million that was pocketed, and they kept it and they were greedy. There's a greater percentage of people now that will take 25% of that and they'll be like, no, I totally get it because I can get out of the business. That's new. Okay? So just imagine that. Also, as a competitive advantage, me telling you that. Okay? So there are people out there that are going to take a huge cut so they can go have fun. And what's happening at the same time is their business isn't stopping. It's probably getting better because they may be part of the dead wood. They may be the impedance, right? So that $250,000 is like rock and roll advancement cash re-injected into their business while they're getting out. That's why this conversation is going to be so hot. Okay, that's why it's so hot. So this is day one. I'm at about 15 minutes, and yeah, let's do day two tomorrow.